We learned a lot today. Did a lot of things wrong. That was my greediness because I wanted to get absolutely the most cut. Got a long way to go before it becomes a pasture. Hey, today we're going to be demonstrating the Baumalight DPH530 tree saw that goes on the back of your tractor. It's a 3-point hitch tree saw. You back into a tree up to a 10-inch in diameter. As you're backing in, this push bar will touch the tree and it starts cutting at the base and pushing it over. Hey, shh. Quit walking on leaves. For this application on my tractor, I did not have to cut the shaft. I do recommend you check that. It's very, very important that your shaft is not too long, because if it is, it can literally either break the gearbox or break the back of your tractor itself. So this thing has a massive gearbox, and it comes from the factory full of oil. Has a sight glass here on this side. I did go ahead and grease the PTO shafting, though after doing so I realized it had already been greased. It was ready to go out of the box. Do not ever assume that. Always check your oils and always grease the universal joints, because once they fail, it's too late. Let's go ahead and talk about the actual cutter. This is just a big giant disc that turns around, and it's got replaceable cutters. Each one of these cutters have 3 sides, and there's a little triangle right in here that you can loosen this up and rotate it around. So as these wear down, you get 3 different cuts on them, and they're readily available. Again, this daggum gearbox is massive. So just looking it over, first impressions, just like everything that Baumalight makes, it's overbuilt. Everything's made of thick, heavy metal. The welds are great quality. These guys put this stuff together. They know what they're doing, and they do a very good job. So just to give you a few of the specs, this machine right here weighs 525 pounds. It's got 12 teeth on a 30-inch disc, and the reason I know all of it, it is actually on the tag right here. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to do with this, and why I'm so excited about demonstrating this thing. As you look back through here, we are going to clear all of this out. We're going to clear about 5 acres back here, and this is going to be a goat pasture. That's our end game. This is all going to be a goat pasture down here. So this brings me to actually doing the work. Let's talk about safety. As you guys know, I am not a safety Sam, but there's things you really need to know about with this. When you're backing into a tree, you're pushing on it, and if there's any dead limbs at the top, it could fall out and come in and hit you or stab you. So you definitely want some protection on your head for a minimum. Now we're talking about 10-inch trees and smaller. Most times going to be smaller, so it's not going to be something that critical. But you just have to be cognizant and look up, check the tree out before you back into it. If it is dead on top, probably the best idea would be to cut it down with a chainsaw, because you go bumping into stuff. Again, it's just a matter of physics. When you hit right here, the tree pushes, and wherever the weak point is, it'll flip over, and as it flips over, this part comes down, and you'll see out in the woods many times where there's big sticks stuck in the ground. That could be you.
Look at that, my first morel. I am so excited. There's so many more over here too.
So what we're going to do is start out with this tulip poplar. It's healthy all the way to the top, so it feels pretty safe to do. It's about 8 or 9 inches at the bottom, so it's going to be pretty close to the max, but being tulip poplar is pretty soft. So my understanding how to do this is to lower it all the way down to the ground. The tractor is not carrying maybe just a little bit of the weight, and you want it to be, the cutter needs to be pretty level and then back straight into it. So this is my first try. Pull it up to 540 RPM. Super smooth. Now we're just going to ease in. Be ready to run. It's a little bigger at the base. little too big. What I'm going to do now is go back and come at that stump from the other direction and chop it off even with the ground. I just didn't have enough bite, 10 inches. The stump went out like this, so. Well, that was quite a bit bigger than I thought because of the way that the stump went out. But it still did a daggum good job. Here's the stump. So maybe if you were going to do one a little bit bigger than it's rated for, you come in on one side and nip it, and then come the other side and finish it off with your big cut, kind of like a face cut on a chainsaw. But I wouldn't recommend going over what it's rated for. That was a pretty safe tree. Are you sure? This is a maple. I thought it was a tulip poplar. The leaves are not out, and I'm not good.
Birch to me.
Huh?
It looked like a birch to me.
Was it a birch? I think you're right. It was a birch.
You caught my morel must be freaking out.
Yeah. Probably some morels right here. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it's a cottonwood. Could be cottonwood too. It's a little bit different. I'm not sure what that is. Let's do the picture. See what it says it is. So I just glanced at it. The leaves are not on, but this is a sycamore tree. I just never even really paid much attention to what it was, but that's actually a sycamore tree. Sycamore's good for anything?
Shade?
Furniture and artwork. Just stay right there if you want to. I'll go back in and clip this little stuff off.
Okay. Cut this one on this side and then come back and knock it over this way. Another sycamore. Alright, so I made my face cut on the other side just because of how the sycamores come out like this at the bottom. It's definitely more than 10 inches. What you see me doing here is after I cut the tree down, I'm coming back in and lowering the cutter all the way down, and I'm cutting the stump off basically even with the ground.
one sucked up in the side of it. See if I can get this out. I have to turn the, there it goes. So this is the Baumalight 3-point hitch tree saw. We learned a lot today. Did a lot of things wrong. Didn't read a lot of things the right way when I come up to them. I went ahead when I set this up, I was thinking about getting the deepest cuts and not, you know, how it actually needed to be. You have adjustments here. So what I'm going to do is move this bar forward on these little marks down here. Each one of those holes represents a different situation that you are, or a different angle of this top bar. This top bar needs to be angled a little bit further back so that it's putting pressure on the tree while I'm cutting it. Makes it start leaning the way it needs to go. So this is not set up correctly for what we're doing out here, which pretty wild and untamed out here. If you were in a tree farm, it might be perfect. But yeah, so that was my greediness, because I wanted to get absolutely the most cut from the actual teeth, and I was getting it. I mean, really nothing out here. We did a sycamore, we did elm, we did a couple of tulip poplars, we've done a couple of oaks. Didn't care, not at all. That's a big change in just a short time. So we've done this in about an hour and a half. I've got to load up some stuff, so I got to cut loose today. Going to see Joe the farmer tomorrow. So you guys look forward for a video where me and Joe from Joe the Farmer YouTube channel, I'm going to do some collaboration. We're going to put a big bonfire right here. I'll move this back over as I clean that area, and we'll move this to the center, let it dry, and then we'll have a big bonfire out here. There's a spring right over here, so we got to be careful as we go further that way. Find ourselves sunk up to the axles. What do you think, Gimmo Dougie? You don't like tree cutting so much, do you? That's a valuable tool, and it works fast. You just got to be careful with it. Lot to learn. Anything that I can't get down, come back to a stump grinder, knock it off, and we could plant all this in fescue and whatever, pasture grass. Got a long way to go before it becomes a pasture. Imagine being able to look almost all the way down there to where the cabin, once that's all open. So listen, appreciate you watching this channel. I like to fell down right here in this mud hole. God bless, have a great day.